How are you? Thank you. I like your shirt. All right. Does anyone have any questions?
Well, some years you can get talent at 11, some years it's tough. Is this a deep draft? Can you get a difference maker type player at 11?
Well, we like the draft. John, I don't know. It's always hard to say with certainty how deep a draft is or how strong a draft is. We see this draft as um, having some pretty good depth. I think when you try to calculate how good it is, you oftentimes don't have that answer for a few years thereafter. But we like the draft. We feel like there's a lot of parity in the draft. So um, we think we'll be able to find a player who can help and crack the rotation and hopefully even more than that.
Rob, how strenuously have you attempted to trade out of the first round altogether for veteran help?
Well, we've been active in our discussions, and so we'll continue to be active. That's our job to be active. I would say that it's highly likely that we'll continue to have discussions up to the draft and during the draft. I just can't say with any certainty if those talks will produce anything fruitful.
Do those talks include potentially trading out of the first round to acquire a veteran player?
Those talks include everything. Yes.
Is the focus, if you keep the focus, is the focus on bringing in someone that can contribute immediately in some way, even if it is as eventual, or are you still kind of in that phase where you're looking for best player available, even if it's a project that's going to take some
Yeah, I think the preference would be, someone who can contribute. But with where we're picking, we may have to lean more toward the best player on the board as we try to balance those two things. But the preference would be to find someone who can help us immediately.
Is that taking best player available? Is that still thinking about what's already on the roster as far as you take another guard, considering the backcourt that you already have?
Yeah, that'll be a factor. We're always trying to factor in how the player fits with what we currently have. At the same time, with where we're picking in the draft, the factors may be such that we have to take the best player based on who's there at the 11th pick.
Off the draft subject, how's Coach Vogel doing? Relationship, you guys? What has he been doing here the last?
Yeah, Coach Vogel's been great. He's been here, spending some time with the guys, seeing draft workouts. Been talking a lot about, the summer and what we want to try to do in free agency. So that part's been great, and he's continuing to work through his coaching staff, and we've had a lot of interest in the job. We've talked to a lot of people, and we feel like we're closing in here shortly to be able to announce the full staff.
Well, 3 or 4 of your picks have been 3-year college guys, 4-year college guys. Is that a preference? A guy who's maybe a little more mature? I mean, Andrew was a 4-year guy, Devin was a 4-year guy, Victor was 3 years. Is that
Yeah, I would say it's something we look at, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's a preference. Our draft picks, it's been more about who those guys are as people and our belief in their ability to be good basketball players and continue to grow and develop.
You see the staff pretty much in place by summer league in the next couple of weeks.
We would hope so. Yeah, that would be the hope for sure. Yeah.
If not, you can coach.
If not, I may have to coach. Yeah, that would not be good.
Rob, how much interest, how many calls have you received about players currently, potential trade calls have you received about players currently on the roster?
I would say several. Yeah, I think a positive thing is that we have players that the league values, and so this time of year especially, you're always having conversations, you're always listening, you're always trying to explore ways to improve your team. So we've had several conversations, and like I said earlier, we'll continue to have those conversations throughout today and throughout tomorrow.
How much do you enjoy the draft? I mean, that's your job. You're the gentleman. I mean, you get like all amped up. I mean, coaches get amped up to coach a game. You
Yeah.
amped up for a night like tomorrow.
The draft is fun. It's exciting. It can be a little stressful at times, but it's fun because it's really a culmination of a full year's worth of work, and all the credit goes to our scouting staff, who does an incredible job. Scott Perry, Matt Lloyd, really leading the charge there with our scouts, and they do a phenomenal job preparing our organization to make a good decision. And you never know. At the end of the day, you're betting on a human being. We try to mitigate as much risk as possible by really studying these guys on the floor and off the floor.
Well, at 11, seems historically 10, 11, 9, that's a spot where you can get a guy who's fallen, who was projected high and for whatever reason falls, like ball Pierce or whatever. Are you in that spot where maybe you can snag somebody who, has a good upside?
We'll see. I mean, maybe, we'll be ready for that scenario if it happens. But like I said, this draft in particular, there's a lot of parity in this draft, and at least from our view, there isn't a ton of separation between a group of, call it 20 to 30 guys, and you could all make an argument or a case for or against each player. So it's very clustered in that way, and we see that as a positive, but it also makes it a little more challenging based on where we're picking and trying to find really good value that also fits the team.
Have you guys done tons of those mock scenarios where, you play out the top 10 picks of our variety of leagues?
We've done a few. I don't think we've done a ton. We've done a few. The good news is it's 11, so you can get to 11 fairly quickly versus being at somewhere in the late 20s, for example. But yeah, that's certainly part of how we prepare to try to simulate how we think the draft's going to go.
How many players have you had into Orlando, either for interviews or workouts, who you might consider it?
Yeah, so for number 11, I would say we've had maybe close to 20 guys, somewhere in that range, and then we've had several guys for our second round picks. Or, we also bring in guys in case we're going to move around the draft that we see might be in different pockets that we don't have a pick in, but we could acquire one in. So we've had dozens of guys come in here over the last few weeks for workouts and interviews.
At least from media reports, it seems like there's a trend of at least some of the top prospects getting steered away or kind of protected and having these pro days rather than going out and working out for individual teams. Are you noticing that trend around the league, and did you find it at all difficult to bring in the guys that you wanted to bring to have face-to-face time?
Yeah, we didn't. We were able to get in anybody and everybody we wanted to get in. I think that I would say this year, it's not any different than years prior. Yeah.
Let's get out to ourselves.
Yeah.
You see the Draymond Greens and Allen Crabs, and it seems like a lot of teams have these second-round guys who are important. How important are those 41, 47 for you?
They're important, yeah. We feel like there'll be players available at those picks that can help our team. We have to figure out, there's a balance with roster spots and how many young players we want to carry versus, what our strategy will be July 1. So we got to balance that a little bit, which we will. But in terms of the second round, we feel like the second round is fairly strong, and there are a lot of teams with multiple picks in the second. And depending on their roster spot situation, that may allow players to get to 41 or 47 that maybe we didn't anticipate. So, yeah, we'll be ready for that.
You talked about that you plan to take the best player available. Does what you do in the draft have any effect on your plans for July in free agency? Say you kind of think you filled a need or a roster spot through the draft, does that change a little bit?
I would say probably not for us. We're hoping we use free agency to bring in some veteran experience and guys who can help right away versus the draft, which typically is more of a forecast. Yeah. No other questions, Payne?
Yeah, I think you answered everything.
Okay, man. All right.
Give us a, yeah, I got nothing. That's good.
Do you have a joke you can share with us? Or?
How's Worcester? Are you going off to Worcester? You going to Worcester, man?
I hope so. I hope so, man. All right, good. Good. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay, thanks.